The boardroom was silent except for the sound of ticking clocks and rustling papers, but billionaire Ethan Cole's mind was elsewhere. The towering glass windows of his skyscraper office overlooked the bustling city, a city he once dreamed of conquering. And he had done it: the technology empires, luxury cars, private jets. To the world, Ethan had it all. Yet that morning, as he sipped his black coffee, a strange heaviness sat in his chest, one he couldn't name. He didn't know that a single encounter, far away from polished suits and gleaming floors, was about to shatter his carefully constructed world. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. Ethan, tired of back-to-back meetings and endless screens, decided to take an unplanned drive. His chauffeur suggested a detour through a quieter neighborhood. As the rain streaked across the window, Ethan spotted a small park by an aging elementary school. Children played under the gray sky, their laughter sharp against the damp air. Something about the scene tugged at him, a reminder of his own lonely childhood when dreams of wealth were born not out of greed but hunger, both literal and emotional. Almost without thinking, he asked the driver to stop. Ethan stepped out, the drizzle dampening his expensive shoes. That's when he noticed her. A little girl sat alone at a cracked wooden picnic table, her tiny pink backpack beside her. She couldn't have been more than 8. Her clothes were neat but worn, her hair tied into 2 messy pigtails. In front of her sat a faded purple lunchbox. But it was empty. The girl stared into it, her small hands fidgeting as though trying to will food into existence. Something in Ethan's chest tightened. He walked closer. "Hey there," he said gently, crouching so his towering frame wouldn't scare her. "Where's your lunch?" The girl looked up, startled but not frightened. Her eyes were a striking hazel, filled with both innocence and something far too mature for her age. "I'm not hungry," she said quickly, pulling the lunchbox a little closer. But Ethan had seen too much in life to believe easy answers. "Can I see?" he asked softly. She hesitated, then opened it slowly. Inside was a single folded piece of paper. No sandwich, no fruit, no snack. Just paper. Ethan's breath caught as he carefully picked it up. Written in a child's shaky handwriting were the words, "Mommy says love is food for the heart. Don't worry about me." His vision blurred. He blinked hard, but the tears came anyway, hot, unexpected, unstoppable. He looked back at the girl, who now stared at the ground, embarrassed. "What's your name?" Ethan asked, his voice breaking. "Leela," she whispered. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Where's your mom, Leela?" "She's at work. She works a lot. Sometimes she skips dinner so I can eat." Leela's voice was matter-of-fact, but her words cut through Ethan like a blade. He learned that Leela's mother, Maria, worked 2 cleaning jobs and a night shift at a diner just to keep a roof over their heads. They lived in a tiny apartment nearby. Some days, there simply wasn't enough food. And yet, Maria always left Leela notes, little love letters disguised as meals for the soul. Ethan felt his carefully built world crumble. The memory of his own childhood, his mother crying quietly at the kitchen table because she couldn't pay the bills, rushed back with painful clarity. He had spent years burying that boy who once went to bed hungry. But here she was, a mirror of his past. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The note replayed in his mind, "Love is food for the heart." For decades, he had chased deals and dollars, believing success meant never feeling the sting of poverty again. But what had all his wealth truly fed? His companies were thriving, his net worth astronomical, yet his heart felt emptier than Leela's lunchbox. The next morning, Ethan made a decision that startled his entire board. He cleared his schedule, ignoring protests and frantic calls. First, he went back to the park, hoping to see Leela again. When he found her, She smiled shyly and offered him another note. This one simply said, "Thank you for talking to me yesterday." He promised her he'd return, then asked if he could meet her mother. Later that evening, Ethan stood outside a small, crumbling apartment building where Maria greeted him nervously, her work uniform still damp from rain. She looked tired, bone tired, but her eyes were warm. Ethan explained who he was, though Maria's guarded smile showed she barely believed him. When he offered help, she politely refused. "I don't want charity," she said firmly. "I just want my daughter to grow up kind and strong." Those words hit Ethan harder than any business negotiation ever could. This wasn't about charity. It was about dignity. It was about love. Over the next few weeks, Ethan visited often, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes just sitting and talking with Maria and Leela. Slowly, trust blossomed. He learned about the systemic struggles Maria faced: rising rents, unfair wages, endless bills. And with each visit, Ethan felt his old life slipping away, replaced by something far richer. But he didn't stop at helping one family. Ethan used his vast resources to launch a program providing free meals to children in struggling neighborhoods. He funded community kitchens, after-school programs, and scholarships for single mothers. Yet, he made sure it wasn't just about money. He visited schools, served food himself, and listened to real stories of resilience and quiet heroism. Months later, at the grand opening of a new community center, Leela ran up to him holding yet another note. This one read, "You filled more than my lunchbox. You filled my heart." Ethan choked back tears as he hugged her. In that moment, he realized something profound: the greatest wealth wasn't in bank accounts or business empires. It was in human connection, in the power to lift someone else when they were falling. Years from that day, Ethan would tell this story to crowds of aspiring entrepreneurs, his voice steady but eyes shining. He'd remind them that success without compassion is just emptiness wrapped in gold. Because sometimes, it takes an empty lunchbox to show you what a full life really means.